I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
And welcome to MuscleSport Media Live. I am your co-host, Joe Pietaro. Anthony Tuminello is not here tonight. My son Jimmy is taking his seat. And, of course, Trevor across the glass in the room getting it all out there. Last week, we were not here. I was in Columbus, Ohio, covering the Arnold Classic. Did you miss me back at home, Jimmy?
Not at all.
Did Mom miss me?
No, she enjoyed the quiet.
Everybody, all the household, the children and the dog alike. Well, the dog missed me. She jumped around when I got home that night. But tonight, we're going to talk about a little bit about the game of baseball. We have spring training. I still haven't watched any spring training highlights even. It's almost as if I didn't notice it started. Very unlike me. But thankfully you have, so you're going to be able to answer some of the questions.
I really only watched that first game to see Soto's Mets debut when he hits the home.
Yeah, but you've been following over. But of course, before we get anywhere, none of this would be possible without our friends over at noahconstruction-builders.com. Pete and the guys will take care of you no matter how big nor small your job may be. Go to noahconstruction-builders.com. Speaking of teams building, both the Mets and the Yankees built up nice, brought back some pitching that looked good. And now, of course, as every spring happens, guys get injured. Yankees had some horrible news today with their ace, Gerrit Cole, needing to undergo Tommy John surgery. And that's after losing last year's Rookie of the Year, Luis Heel. So the Yankees have a little bit of, crossing their fingers on their rotation. So let's touch base on the Yankees rotation first, since that news came out today with Gerrit Cole. As far as their rotation goes, now what are we looking at? Rodon is going to be your number one.
Well, Max Fried, you give him that 8-year contract this offseason to be Gerrit Cole's co-ace. Now he's going to be the lone ace there at the top of the rotation.
Yeah.
Fried is a great pitcher. He's pitched in October, won a World Series with Atlanta. So expectations are high for him, and I think he's going to live up to those expectations.
I do
but
as well, yeah.
It does hurt to not have him and Cole as kind of that two-headed monster in that rotation.
Yeah, and even though they lost Soto, they did have a good offseason, in my opinion. I think they replaced, they got some stopgap guys, but they want to win a ring. That's all the Yankees care about. That's all anybody should care about, but especially the Yankees. So they're not worried about, these guys going to be good hitters in 2 years. They're worried about, are they going to be good hitters in October this year? So they did bring in some guys. They lost Soto. They brought in some bats to replace him. And they bring in Fried to go along with, which was last year a very good pitching staff, even though Cole missed part of the season at the beginning with injury again. And they did pretty well. And then they didn't even have Stroman on the playoff roster. They had enough pitching, but he was he had a nice season for them. It almost looked like he was a foregone conclusion that he was going to be an ex-Yankee. Luckily for them, they held on to him. The guy still has some value. He can still win games for you. I'm not a big Stroman fan because of the way, it's kind of more of a personality thing with him. I think he rubs people the wrong way. But he can still pitch, and he's not old. So
he's not a great pitcher at this point in his career, but he could still eat innings, still get you wins in the regular season.
Low ERA. The Mets, he had a 2-point-something that 1 year. He had a really good year there.
But, it looked like he was going to be gone. It came to spring training. He was saying, I'm not a reliever, I'm a starter.
Mm-hmm.
They don't find the trade for him, and now they're lucky because with Heel on the shelf to at least June and Cole out for the whole season, you're going to need those innings.
Stroman's going to be in the rotation. So you have, Fried, Rendon, Stroman. So they're going to have they're not going to be as strong in the rotation as they would, but they have a really deep and strong bullpen. I've always loved Tim Hill since he just blew away all the Mets in San Diego. I mean, he's just a big left-hander that can just come. He almost reminds me of a thicker John Rocker. He just has that same.
Not the same off the field headache, though.
John, great follow on Twitter/X. If you don't follow John Rocker on X, I highly recommend it. He's excellent. He's funny. He brings a lot to the table as far as his opinion and attitude, and it's entertaining. That's what
ended his career, though.
He did,
but no one wanted to be bothered.
No one wanted to be bothered him, but he's funny on Twitter. He says what he says. You know, he doesn't pull back, which is actually good because he talks about the game and things, and he has a lot to say. I mean, he was very successful with Atlanta as a closer. But so the Yankees have Hill. They pick up the Devin Williams from the Brewers.
Luke Weaver was great in that closer role. Now he moves back down to the setup man.
Probably best for him. You know, I think he's better set for that 7th or 8th inning spot. So I do like the Yankees as far as their bullpen goes, which is going to become very important when your staff is a little shallow. It's not a deep staff right now, so you might have bullpen games. You're gonna have some 3-4 inning games where one of those back end starters is gonna be ineffective, and you're going to be yanking him early in the game, you know, a 3 1/3 type of thing, and you're going to need some long innings from the pen. As far as the Yankees' offense goes, how do you feel about the replacement guys? They brought in Paul Goldschmidt. They have, what's his name, from the Cubs, Cody Bellinger. I almost said Brooks Bollinger, who was a Jets quarterback.
I don't necessarily think that they're bad pickups, but they look worse with the Stanton injury now. The lineup protection continues to dwindle around Judge. Last October, Judge didn't hit too great for his standards.
For him, yeah.
Stanton picked it up and played like a superstar. He carried that lineup. Yeah. Him and Soto. Soto departs in free agency. You go, well, we still have Stanton and Judge. Now Stanton's on the shelf with these elbow injuries, and who knows when he's going to be ready.
Now, they're not saying much about it. Is it something they're just holding him out of spring training because he's a veteran and they don't want him to aggravate it worse?
He flew back to New York to see specialists. He came back. They're saying maybe he'll be ready. Yeah. But it seems like he's not going to be ready for opening day. But they've even already, Stanton's floated the idea of surgery being a last resort, but that is still, not completely off the table.
Yeah.
Even though it's not what they're looking to do. He's going to need to rest and rehab and play in some minor league games. It's going to be a while.
It's not going to be. You're not going to see him at Yankee Stadium at the beginning of the season. And it's kind of a shame because he's had a lot of unlucky injuries in his career. Obviously, the face thing, hit by a pitch when he was with Florida.
Yeah, totally stays in great shape. He's just always had some.
He's in great shape. He came in last year thinner and everything, and he had a big year last year, but there's always something with this guy. Running hard, and he's. It's not like he was dogging and pulled his calf. He was running down the line flying.
Hamstring, he'll get hit by a pitch. It's just bad luck.
Weird things. This elbow, this thing was it just something for off season?
He said it came from how he was adjusting his swing in the postseason and then training in the off season.
And going to cages.
And that different swing was putting more strain on his elbows. And although it worked in the playoffs, it might have maybe caused some soreness.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because, like you said, Judge definitely does need protection. You're losing Soto. The guys they brought in are not
although Bellinger is a former MVP, he hasn't been that guy. He's been okay with Chicago.
Good left-handed
but
hitter.
He hasn't been MVP Bellinger that was hitting 48 homers and 300.
Yeah, he had a quick drop.
Yeah,
he went from great to nothing, and the Dodgers let him go.
And then he just fell out of favor there.
Comeback season with the Cubs, and then he re-signs there.
Wasn't as good, but still hit.
Rumored to go to the Yankees last year.
Yeah.
So they finally got him a year later.
Last year he would have cost them more. It ends up being a decent
move
cost-wise.
Yeah, because he's coming off a bad, but a less than stellar season.
But
that's going to be a tough thing with them. I think they're gonna I still feel they're the best team in the AL. Right before we went on air, we were talking about the Rangers and the Red Sox a little bit. You made some good points about the Texas Rangers. So since we're in the AL, we'll switch to the NL, and obviously we'll start with the Mets. But since we're in the AL, instead of going back and forth, let's talk a little about the Rangers. I think it all lays on, is Jacob deGrom going to be able to pitch? Is he going to stay healthy or not?
Yeah, I think that it's really all it comes down to. Their lineup's great. Their bullpen's a little lacking. They lost some guys. They didn't bring them back. But the lineup's great. The pitching staff, though, is pretty much fully dependent on DeGrom.
Yeah.
If he looks like the DeGrom that we knew before injury and he actually manages to stay on the field, I mean, I don't think there's a better pitcher in baseball.
No, not
even
currently.
with all these great, young guys like Skeens and them. DeGrom is just another level of dominance when he's healthy.
Totally blows away Skeens if he's healthy.
Yeah.
The DeGrom that we saw as Met fans was just ridiculous, and he had no run support. He was just basically a one-man army on that hill. He was just amazing, and it's just a shame that injuries, we'll never know how great this guy could have been.
How many wins he could have had, how many
wins.
strikeouts.
I mean, even if he comes back and is healthy the rest of his career, well, this was the heart of his
prime
career.
years have been knocked out.
Well, he's been out. So Texas, they obviously offensively, they're loaded. They also bring in Jake Berger this year, a Met killer with the Miami Marlins. So good to see him to get out of
Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson, you said he had
Arizona,
a big year with the D-backs.
He was great with the Diamondbacks as
he
a
was
designated hitter.
A good career with L.A. Dodgers prior to
Won
that.
the World Series with Atlanta in 2021.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they brought him in.
Yeah, he was part of that Acuna replacement.
That's right. Yeah, that is when they made those moves. So the Texas Rangers, basically, they have Evaldi. I mean, the staff, if DeGrom's healthy, it's a completely different. He can just carry a staff. If he's not, Evaldi, he's not going to be able to do it. Who you said the other guy they have?
Dane Dunning. They've got some other names I'm blanking on
even
right
still
now,
from that series team, but they're not studs.
DeGrom is DeGrom, and if he's
the guy,
manages to get out there and you want to set a realistic number, 140 innings for him is realistic. I mean, he's not a guy who's going to throw close to 200 anymore.
You can't chance it.
No, they're going to be careful.
Fortunately.
They made a big, nearly $200 million investment in him. They're going to be careful with his innings. They're not going to push him in the regular season. So,
no. I mean, would he come back for one start last year?
He made two starts down the stretch, but he looked good in those starts too. He looked, he looked like himself.
Like
so
he did at Citi Field. So that's
hopefully for baseball he can get out there and look good.
He's such an entertaining guy to watch. He just goes about his business. He's all quiet, not a showboat, and he was just makes a big difference, and it's fun to watch him pitch. I love, because I'm a pitcher's dual guy, so I love seeing a guy like him on the mound. Let's quickly cover with the Red Sox, since they made some good off-season moves, and we're going to do Mets and Yankees. So the Texas and the Red Sox are probably going to be the biggest
maybe
contenders.
Guardians too.
Yeah,
I'm
not giving them enough credit. They were good last year. I kind of like that Central kind of loses me a lot. And Detroit, everybody loves them now because they snuck into the playoffs. KC had a good year. But
those Central teams are...
Then whoever wins that division is probably not going to get too far.
Some good
They're not going to get to the
teams,
CS.
not some great teams.
Not some great. But Boston spent some money. They've had a couple of down years. They've been bringing second division kind of record. But now they brought in some... Alex Bregman. I don't know how much does he have left in the tank.
But he's still a good hitter. Boston Fenway is a perfect spot for his swing. He loves that. He loved that short porch in Houston. Yeah. And Fenway, even though the monster is much higher, is still short.
It's still, going as far as feet-wise. Who else did they bring? They brought in
Crochet.
Who
I think Crochet really has some potential to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, his stuff last year was really right up there with the best in baseball.
But that wasn't his problem. His problem was
his length and how he didn't want to pitch.
He didn't even want to pitch 5. When he was on the long,
can't say I blame him though. You want to blow your arm out and risk hundreds of millions for the White Sox. Can't say I fully blame him.
All right, I give you a little bit. I like a competitor, and
everyone likes a competitor, but when it comes to risking hundreds of millions, I can't blame the guy.
Oh, I guess it worked out for him. He went to a really good team.
Yeah, good city,
and so he's. If he's healthy, he's going to do well over there. Now, they picked up another pitcher, too.
Walker
Buehler, who's, injuries derailed his Dodger career, but at one time, he's the ace of the Dodger staff. Not counting what's his name?
Kershaw.
22. Not counting Kershaw. Kershaw's.
Yeah.
But
Buehler was a Cy Young level pitcher for a while.
Excellent. Yeah.
And Tommy John took its toll on him. And last year he looked like, in the regular season, one of the worst pitchers in baseball. But in the playoffs, he was great. He took his lumps in that Padres series, gave up some big runs, but then versus the Mets, he shut them down.
Yeah.
And then he was the closer in the World Series. He closed out the ring on Game 5. So
that shows
he built his value back up in the playoffs, and maybe if he gets healthy, another offseason removed from Tommy John, he could bounce back as a starter.
And I don't look at the Dodgers letting him walk as an indication of, like you said,
the Dodgers have like 10. They have too many starters already.
It's so deep. Yeah, they didn't need to throw money at this guy. They let Flaherty walk too.
I think they wanted to let those guys walk. They just had no room for
nowhere to put him, especially if Ohtani's healthy and can pitch this year.
You've got Ohtani, who's going to pitch. Yamamoto, Sasaki, the other Japanese star. Glasnow, they bring in Snell. You've got Bobby Miller, who was bad last year but looked like a great young pitcher a couple of years ago. Dustin May's healthy. Bring back Kershaw. Tony Gonsolin's healthy. I mean,
the rich get richer type of scenario.
They have about 9 guys who could be a 3 or a 4 on other teams.
They didn't need Flaherty nor Walker Buehler. No. So no slight on Buehler, but again, he must prove himself and be able to stay healthy. I mean, the Sox, it's more fun when Boston has a good team, especially when the Yankees do as well. There's no better rivalry in sports than the Yanks and the Sox.
Yeah, Boston fans, they're crazy. They're loud.
It's great. When we went to Fenway, Fenway,
especially in October, is one of the best parks you hear on the TV.
It's so great. I mean, we were there. We loved it. It's a great place to watch a ball game. It's got so much history. I mean, when we saw them, that was one of their down years 2 years ago. They kind of stunk, and we went in August, I think. So it was like they weren't making the playoffs, but the place was packed. Both games went in. Fans were still down with it. They really supportive of that team. They weren't booing them a lot, And we saw Skubal too, didn't we?
We saw Skubal and Sale too.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, we saw Skubal and Chris Sale. So we got some good viewage, and then we saw Skeens last year when we went to Pittsburgh.
Who was it on the Seattle? Kirby? Was it?
I think so. Kirby? Yeah, Seattle's got good pitches. So we've been pretty lucky as far as, we buy the tickets a long time in advance, and we just, you don't know who's going to be on the mound, but we ended up getting, that makes up for the missing the what was it, Scherzer's debut
on Mets debut.
Seaver statue day
because of the lockout.
Because of the lockout. So we got bad luck with that, and we got made up for
Skeens in his rookie year.
We earned it. So I wanted that Seaver statue.
It's a good giveaway.
Yeah, that was a great.
If you want one, you gotta go spend like $40 on eBay.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Let's change gears and head over to the senior circuit, the National League, the league that I enjoy, the one without the DH. Oh yeah, that's right. He ruined the game. That Manfred.
You really want to watch pitchers hit?
Yes, I do. Let me tell you, Dwight Gooden hit 2 homers in one game. Okay?
We've seen enough of it.
And Walt Terrell hit a homer at Wrigley Field. Walt Terrell was one of the guys that was darling at Walt Terrell for Lee Mazzilli in the trade. And then they traded Hojo for Terrell.
I've seen enough of pitchers.
But if they bunt, they help themselves. It makes such a big difference. You stay in the game.
Pitchers waving at.
Well, that's the problem. See, you're used to seeing interleague hitting. When the National League pitchers hit all the time, some of them had good sticks. Tom Glavine was a really good hitter. I mean, even with the Mets. DeGrom was a good hitter too, because he was an infielder originally.
I was always afraid he was going to hurt himself. So.
Yeah, of course. Plus, because he used to bat lefty, so his right arm was exposed to the pitch. So, I'm waxing poetic on golden oldie days. Let's talk about current situation. New York Metropolitan Baseball Club. Obviously, the Soto signing made the off season, if you will.
Made the next decade or so.
Yeah. And listen, I think when we did the show before, that was when they first signed them, but then Pete wasn't back yet. So remember, I said I wasn't that excited because he needed that bopper to be hitting in the lineup with him. And if it was Alonso, a replacement, I didn't care who it was. I needed a guy that can hit home runs. I'm glad it's Alonso because he's, I think, a good fit. The fans love him. He's a good fit on the team, good clubhouse guy. So I'm more excited tonight about the Juan Soto signing than I was when he first was signed.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited either way to have a guy that transcendent of a talent, and to take him away from the Yankees. It's just like a
that doesn't make it.
But it's just like a shift in baseball.
But if they don't win and the Yankees win, then what's the difference?
Oh, well,
but the Mets finish second. Yankees win the AL.
But just. This was something that a few years ago this didn't happen. Superstar didn't leave the Yankees to play for the little brother in Queens.
Very, very rarely.
Nobody
of that
Soto.
magnitude.
Nobody who was a 26-year-old
there's been
guy on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
It's been over the years some guys that have gone.
Nobody like Soto in the past. Go back 20 years.
Mike Stanton, the pitcher. Just like
they would never even look at
game changers. Yeah. No. But obviously the Mets had a really good year last year. A beautiful run in the playoffs, and I think that caught Soto's attention. I think
$800 million caught
that
more
also.
Attention.
But didn't you see something? They said that he wasn't the largest offer.
He said on a podcast that they weren't. I don't know how much I believe him. I don't know why he'd lie about it, but at the same time,
is he sticking it to the Yankees by saying that? Was he meaning the Yankees?
I mean, we knew the Yankees' final offer, and it was $5 million less than the Mets.
So was there a third
for
team?
One more year? So maybe Toronto got desperate at the end and said, "We'll give you."
And he was like,
"I've already made my mind up."
That's like Blue Jays.
I don't know. Maybe he's just saying that to try to make fans feel better and say, "I'm not just here for the money. I want it to be." Mets.
Possibly, it could be a strategy type of thing.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't care. He's on the Mets. The kid is a great player. Oh, he stinks in the outfield. I don't care. I really don't care.
Gonna hit 40
He's not horrible.
runs.
He's not Gold Glove material.
He's got one of the best eyes at the plate I've ever seen. He doesn't swing.
For a young guy, that's very
Not
rare.
only does he not swing at garbage out of the zone, he knows when to waste pitches when he's looking for them. He's looking for a home run. He's wasting pitches that would be singles or lineouts until he gets that home run pitch.
Fouling them off.
Like that at-bat versus Cleveland in the championship series.
Yeah.
What was that at-bat? 15 pitches? He was just
insane.
Sitting there fouling off until he got that pitch he wanted, that middle pitch, and just drilled it.
Yeah, so that's a great point because that's something that is very hard to teach anybody. Especially for a young kid to come up and do that.
It also helps his game age well. You don't lose that sense for the game. You might lose some power and speed, but you don't lose that eye. That's just natural.
He's going to have a good on-base percentage, even if he loses some of that gap power,
even though
speed.
That contract's run until he's, I think, 41.
He's going to be older than me.
It'll probably look kind of ugly at that point, but he should still at least be a serviceable player.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to stay in shape. He'll be able to DH.
But when you got a 15-year contract, it's hard to expect you to be.
Listen.
But he should still, at the very least, be serviceable, not like some of these other guys who are.
He's not going to be.
You were just begging them to cut him at the end of the deal.
Jason Bay. Well, I'm saying Jason Bell. So the Mets also bring back Manaea, who was really good, but then again, like we're talking about Cole, he gets injured.
Luckily, not as serious. But still an injury.
Yeah, still an injury. They lose some of those guys
like Quintana and
Quintana, Luis Severino, who were good, value pickups last year by Stearns, and
they bring in Montas, who gets hurt as well.
But again, he's addressed the team. They spent money. You can't cry about that.
But Stearns has also shown he doesn't like spending on pitching and free agency, and I can't blame him.
It's too fickle.
Look at how many of these free agent pitching contracts end up in disaster. Guys decline, guys get hurt. I mean, pitchers hit free agency at 30, 31. Their body's starting to break down.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to age. Corbin Burns looked great last year, but in 2 or 3 years, he might be a mediocre starter who you're paying $40 million a year for.
I think it was a smart move.
Stearns has shown he wants
money at him.
He wants to develop pitching through his organization, which is what the best teams do.
Yeah.
He spent, on, again, similar players like Montas, this kind of rehabilitation project. Clay Holmes, this conversion project.
Yeah, he's going to start where he was closer, setup man on the Yankees. But he was a starter earlier in his minor league career.
But their rotation, although on paper with these injuries doesn't look great, it didn't look great last year either, especially with Sanger hurt. and it ended up, doing more than
Yeah.
fine.
I mean, it's actually, they have depth. If it's mediocre depth, it's still depth.
But there's guys who can give you innings.
Yeah, there's got McGill is McGill. I mean, Peterson was pitched much better than he had ever in his career last year. Hopefully, he's going to continue to have the same type of year like he did. He'll pick up where he left off. So that would be phenomenal.
Canning looked good tonight in spring, but who knows what he'll look like in the regular season.
Right? I mean, there's another guy. He's another guy.
Holmes has looked great in spring, but again, he's converting from reliever to starter.
Blackburn, who I was very high on last year,
hasn't looked good this spring, but he
might be working on something.
But he's still a veteran starter who's pitched before.
You can't tell in the spring training because sometimes they're either working on something or they don't want to show something.
Yeah.
If they developed a different break on a certain
Blackburn's
pitch.
also coming off a spinal injury.
He had a tough injury.
It was like a leak in his spine or something.
That's got to be painful.
Yeah, so he could just be knocking off some rust.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the deal he pitched. I think he was 3-2 overall, but he pitched well. He only had one bad start.
I think he had two, one in San Diego, one versus Oakland, his former team. But he pitched okay outside of that. So.
Yeah, he was a good 5, and that's all you're looking to get out of him now is him being a 5. Maybe with the loss of Manaea, maybe a 4/5. But again, depth back end starter. So the Mets bullpen, I like the bullpen a lot. I think they did very well in the pen.
It is a little bit dependent on how Diaz looks.
Again, yeah.
Is this going to be Diaz? Diaz looked like two different pitchers throughout last year. There was times where he was, which I know closers are always fickle, but sometimes
the year before he got hurt, he was
sometimes he looked
phenomenal.
like dominant shutdown Diaz from 2 years ago, and other times he looked like that first year.
Yeah.
So maybe another year removed from that injury, he pitches better.
Yeah, I feel that
I'm confident
he showed
in
enough.
him.
Yeah,
I have belief in him, but there is still some risk there with him.
Yeah.
AJ Minter, I love that signing, but he is coming off hip surgery, so there's a little...
That's always tough, especially with a pitcher with that torque and all of that.
There's a little concern there, but Ryan Stanek was great in October. They bring him back.
Guy with the long hair, messy-looking guy.
Max Kranick, a young guy who's
had a great spring.
Looked great in spring.
A really good spring.
Dednall Nunez should be back soon. He was great.
How good was he before he got hurt? People forget about guys like that.
He was great.
Yeah, I mean, you lose track of these guys.
Reed Garrett was very good last year. He had a little stretch where he struggled, but he bounced back late in the year.
Yeah.
So,
remember how he had that good, bad, and then better at the end.
Sean Reed Foley, they DFA'd him, but they kept him in the organization.
I like him.
He was good to start last year, but then went on the shelf with an injury and didn't come back. So he's always been good depth. So you have names there. You've got some veterans, got some younger guys. I think the bullpen's going to be solid.
I think the bullpen is going. We got about 2.5 minutes left, so let's talk a little bit about the teams that they're going to be facing. To me, Atlanta and Philadelphia, the NL East is...
It's a tough division.
Really
Even though I love
division.
the moves the Mets made, and I think they have potential to win it, it's going to be still a very hard division to take.
Did Philly or Atlanta, I know Atlanta was freed, but did Philly or Atlanta do anything that's going to really put them over the top, or are they kind of basically standing pat and still good?
Atlanta didn't really do anything that's going to put them over the top, but they were also so injured last year. They just by getting these guys back, they should be more, closer to that dominant Atlanta team we saw the last few years than that 89 win team we saw last year, which everyone goes, they won 89.
They still made the playoffs.
They're not the same Braves. They got killed by the Padres. With that, list of injuries they had, they should have won 70 games and just been an afterthought. Instead, they still almost win 90 and almost knocked the Mets out.
They almost knocked the Mets out, that crazy doubleheader at the end of the year.
But Sale should be fully healthy. Spencer Strider's not going to be ready opening day, but he shouldn't be too far behind.
Yeah,
he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's a top 10 pitcher. Ronaldo Lopez his velo has been down in spring, and he had some injuries last year. He was one of those reliever converted to a starter.
But he was good when he was healthy.
He was great when his ERA was like 1.9.
Sick,
But if his velocity's down, it might be a sign that they overworked him last year. Spencer
pitcher with
Schwellenbach, who killed the Mets.
That lefty just every time.
Their rotation depth is a little shaky with Fried gone, but if those guys get healthy, they will be a good team again. Acuna, again, won't be ready opening day, but should be ready before June.
He's a monster. We got about less than a minute left. Really quick on the Philadelphia Phillies.
They're good. They picked up Jesus Luzardo, nice, but they lost some relief help with Estevez and Hoffman walking. But they might be a little stagnant. They're not getting any younger, that lineup, and they haven't added too much to it.
Schwarber leading off again.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a good lineup. You still got a lot of star power, but you start to wonder if keep doing the same thing year in, year out.
Yeah, but they still got,
They've declined. They went from making the World Series, then they lose in the championship series, now the divisional series.
That's true.
Even though they win the division for the first time last year, they have been taking steps back.
Yeah, but they're still going to be great contenders.
Yeah, they'll still win 90-plus probably.
Yep, we're going to have to leave it there for Anthony and Jimmy and Trevor. I am Joe. We will see you guys next week on MuscleSport Media Live. Thank you, sir. Good job.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders, through dreams we design with vision we build.